Welcome to Monday. This is
Monday, Tuesday.
Yeah, well, it's Tuesday, but man, it feels like it's been Monday again and again and again. You ever have one of those Mondays that just won't stop?
It's kind of like Groundhog Day, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. We've got one today. We have been battling some technical issues, and we think we've got them squared away.
Mm-hmm.
Fingers are crossed. So our apologies for those of you who look at littermedia.com on a regular basis, and you probably went, why is it February 2022 on this story? Well, when it's out of your hands, those things happen.
It happens that way.
But we are back, and we're alive. So thank you for your patience, and that's the way of technology these days. On this Monday/Tuesday, day after Labor Day, weather-wise, how are we looking here? It's rather warm outdoors.
It's going to be warm again. Another reason to stay out of the office this afternoon if you don't have air conditioning. Sunny, hot, and humid with a high, as you see there, around 94. There is some hope in sight, though, folks. It looks like by the end of the week, we're looking at temperatures being back down in the low to mid-80s. That would be Friday. Now, something that they threw in to the mix, I don't know that we're forecast for it, but they said west of I-75 could see some thunderstorms this afternoon.
Yeah.
So
I was watching some of the weather last night on TV, and they were talking about you might see some scattered showers here and there off to our northwest.
Right.
So, which off to our northwest is Mike's place there in London. Where's
London?
the city you live?
Frankfurt.
Village. You may end up seeing some rain, but I don't know if I'll see any down where I live.
We could use it. The grass has been a little stressed over the last few days.
I only had to mow the front yard.
I haven't even done that because I
that
know
right?
when it gets that dry, it's like when you mow it, you're killing it. So
Yeah.
I just let it go until it rains again. So
Living off that little ridge, we get all that runoff water from the road, and my front yard is very plush and green, so I've had to keep up with that. But other than that, we didn't have to mow much over the weekend, so happy about that. All right, coming up in just a moment, we'll take a look at the news topics that we will be sharing with you today. Also, just ahead, a look at sports, and we remember a friend of ours that passed away over the weekend. Devastating loss for those in Pickaway County. We'll explain coming up during our news. But first, Accurate Heating, Cooling, and Plumbing, your trusted comfort advisor. If you're not comfortable in your home, if it's hot, if it's too cold, or if it's wet, Accurate can help you. Click on this ad anywhere you see it at littermedia.com. It'll take you right to the Accurate website to learn more. Your trusted comfort advisor is Accurate Heating, Cooling, and Plumbing. News is next.
At Rathkamp Financial, we offer customized investment solutions and superior client service. We believe in long-term relationships and working to earn your continued trust. Our greatest satisfaction comes from working with clients for many years and helping them realize their dreams.
You haven't had vodka soda like this. No one has. Made with the world's smoothest vodka plus real juice. New White Claw Vodka Soda.
Here's what's making news on our newly updated website, littermedia.com.
well, it was Labor Day yesterday, but not everybody was taking the day off.
These horses didn't take the day off.
Down in Cynthiana, the Amish, the Mennonite community, they were still working. And this is an actual picture that we got down around Cynthiana. As we were enjoying our little picnic lunch, you hear that clip, clop coming down. And I said, that's not an automobile. So it's really neat to go down there. I know it's every time we go down there, we run into somebody we know. So they're doing the same thing. But it's almost like going back to another century.
And we believe it's Mennonite out this way in Cynthiana, but they call it Cynthiana down in Pike County. But if you go north towards Worcester, that's all Amish, right?
That's my understanding.
Okay.
That's my understanding. But call it what you will. Some of the Mennonites drive, some don't. So I'm not sure I understand all of that. But
one of the coolest conversations I ever heard on the radio was when Glenn Beck was talking with an Amish laborer who was talking on a cell phone, riding in a truck, listening to Glenn on the radio, and he says, "How is this possible with the way you people?" Well, some of us do, some of us don't.
Yeah. We're breaking all the rules down there. We're
modern Amish. What are you talking about?
Yeah. But they sure do bake well, folks. We enjoyed that meal down there. As Dan alluded to here just a moment ago, a real sad note for those who are up in Pickaway County sharing the loss of Sporting Pumpkins' Brad Morris, who passed away over the weekend.
We had John Howley in here a couple of weeks ago to give us a Pickaway County preview of sports, and John is part of the co-founding of the Sporting Pumpkin, but Brad was the heart and soul of it when it comes down to it. Both of them who worked together at the Circleville Herald. When things started pulling back at the Herald after COVID, they decided to start Sporting Pumpkin.
Yeah.
And if you've ever been to a Logan Elm, Circleville, Taste Valley, or Westfall game of any sort, and you saw one of the largest human beings you've ever seen, Brad was a big fella. I don't know, guessing 5'50" in his weight. He was a big,
but he
big
was
boy.
Tall too,
and tall, about 6'3". You couldn't miss Brad Morris. Biggest heart you'll ever find.
Yeah.
Just a super guy.
Yeah, his heart was every big as his body. But if you saw the tributes coming in from everywhere, it wasn't just Pickaway County. It was Ross County. It was Fairfield County.
Yeah.
So he'll certainly be missed.
Absolutely. So our thoughts are certainly with the family. We've been back and forth with many of his close friends and everything over the weekend, and it was tough news to capture. He loved Ohio State football, loved the Bengals, loved the Reds, and he would talk to you about anything.
And I can
guarantee
you the game of the week this Friday, we're doing Circleville at Logan Elm. If Brad were still with us, he would be there, and I wouldn't be shocked if there's some kind of tribute for him.
I guarantee that's going to take place. And he was a Logan Elm graduate, and I tell you, we were thinking about going to that game. We planned on that being our game last week, and I know that when we step on there, the biggest void is going to be no Brad Morris.
Right.
So thoughts are certainly, again, with the family and friends who knew the man and read his work as well.
In other news, this came out Friday, the governor making some appointments that involve some people in our area. Teresa Ramey of Jackson.
No relation.
No relation.
Spelled differently.
She's been appointed by the governor to the Board of Nursing for a term that is already underway here in September and goes through the end of December 2026. Also, Donald Huck of Lancaster has been appointed to the Technical Advisory Council on Oil and Gas for a term that just got underway in September and goes through the end of January 2026. Some good news for those in Huntington Township in Ross County. They were awarded the SAFER grant. Now, that's over $500,000 that will allow for the hiring of 3 additional full-time firefighter EMTs and pay their salary, benefits, and retirement contributions and uniforms for the next 3 years at no cost to Huntington Township. A series of culvert replacement projects will impact motorists in Pike County through early October. Work is set to begin September 11th for a series of 4 culvert replacements on State Route 124 by the Pike ODOT forces. All 4 locations are between Dry Bone Road and Dogwood Lane. Also, State Route 124 will be closed daily from 8 until 3 for that construction. Also on the 11th, a work project for a bridge maintenance on State Route 32 on the bridge over the Scioto River at State Route 104 intersection. Join Northside Branch Library September the 6th, that's tomorrow, as a guest speaker from Medina Mansion and Gardens will be discussing Thomas Worthington, his political, social, and economic ambitions. That gets underway at 5 p.m., and that is free to the public, but it's geared towards the adults. Okay? The Hills Art Competition opens this Thursday at the Pump House Center for the Arts. That's a judged art competition sponsored by one of our good sponsors, Kingston National Bank. The Church of Chillicothe, our friend Dan DeGarmo's church, will host their annual community event this coming Saturday from 12:30 to 2 p.m. Now, I think there's a kids program or some kind of involvement from 11:30 to 12:30, but the community event, which kind of fans out across Chillicothe, that starts at 12:30 and goes till 2. They have plenty of family fun activities. The hazardous waste recycling event for household good materials, like the old sprays. You shouldn't throw those out in the trash. They should be disposed of more properly. Well, that's coming to the Ross County Fairgrounds again this Saturday from 8 a.m. until noon.
You know what makes that most difficult is they don't have them enough.
Right.
Because you don't think to hang on to that until this day.
Yeah.
And if you had a better way of doing that.
Well, and you can see there in the picture, there's a propane tank that you put on your grill. There's a battery. There's a thing of gasoline. The old oil and gas mixture. Mm-hmm. You got a new mower that only takes gas. What do I do with? Well, this is where you take it to the fairgrounds.
You can't just light it?
No, don't do that. Don't do that, kids. Cheryl's House of Hope has a golf outing at the Chillicothe Jaycees Golf Course September the 9th.
We don't have an image for it. I apologize.
But you can contact Cheryl's House of Hope. They have a social media page as well, and Cheryl will be happy to get back with it because that is a fundraiser for their operation. Mm-hmm. To help the agricultural industry, do we have that one?
Looks like we don't have that one either.
Well, we talked earlier, we recorded an interview with Ohio Farm Bureau Federation's Chip Nelson. Chip will be a special edition guest for Fairfield County. That is tomorrow morning at about 10 o'clock. Chip is the senior organizational director, which represents Fairfield, Hocking, Pickaway, and Ross County. We're going to be talking about Fairfield and surrounding communities, some of the things that Farm Bureau is doing to help the farm communities over there. Mm-hmm. Our ODOT report today, starting today, we've been talking about this project. Well, it's supposed to begin today. Bridge maintenance project over Route 35 eastbound between Eastern Avenue and US 50 in Ross County. 35 eastbound is reduced to one lane for this construction that goes through the winter months. Additional impacts may include shoulder closures and narrowed and shifted travel lanes. This will not impact the westbound lanes. And those are your topics.
Only those deciding to go from Jackson to Dayton or just around the loop.
Well, it's north. The eastbound
that's
going to be impacted.
Oh, forgive me, yes,
eastbound.
Not westbound. I had westbound.
Westbound's not impacted, no.
What's funny is it's eastbound, westbound, but it runs north and south right there.
It does. It's a little confusing if you're not from this area and think, wait, this is not westbound.
Just put in a roundabout, would you?
That'll fix everything.
I was thinking about a roundabout this morning and how important that might be to fixing pulling out from Brewer Heights onto Western Avenue.
Yeah.
Because that is one of the goofiest intersections in the city.
Yes.
That, along with the one at the base of Carlisle Hill.
That's another one.
If you're not from Chillicothe, you screw it up every time. Every time. Yeah. All right, coming up, a look at sports for you in just a moment, so stay close for that. Also, we'll take a look at this date in history, and we don't go too far back.
No, not at all. 2006.
It seems like yesterday. That's been 17 years ago. Yeah. That's a long time. All right, so that and more coming up in just a moment here on Litter Media.
This is Andy Tomlinson. When ensuring what's important to you, our agents are there when you need us the most. Tomlinson Insurance, for the best coverage at the best cost. Visit us online at tomlinsonins.com to learn more.
For transportation options in Ross County, call Ross County Health District's Mobility Management Team, 740-779-9652.
Find a career you love with Pickaway Ross Adult Education. Skilled trades careers are in high demand with no signs of slowing down. Pickaway Ross offers career training programs with expert instructors and hands-on learning tactics to create a variety of opportunities. Visit our website for more information.
You asked, we delivered. New Mike's Hard Lemonade Zero Sugar. Zero sugar. Amazing taste. Years in the making. Now that's a drink worthy of the name Mike.
Some folks are still doing some projects for Labor Day, and if you have needed a dumpster, well, you give them a call. This is Scioto Valley Dumpsters, 740-253-8389. They'll bring a dumpster to you. When you fill it up and you're done with the project, they will haul it away, and you can say thank you, Scioto Valley Dumpsters, for helping us. Give them a call today, 740-253-8389. Time for sports, and we've got plenty from over the weekend.
Yeah, Unioto volleyball off to a 7-0 start this season, wrapping up a big week with a championship from their own invitational tournament Saturday. Sherman's opened the tournament with a sweep of Vinton County and then Trimble, and then had to, usually when you have multiple matches in one day, they don't do the 3 out of 5, it's 2 out of 3. And Circleville, who's very good this year, met Unioto in the championship, and the Shermans won that 25-19, 22-25, 25-22. So Unioto wins the championship. Saturday's third-place finish at the Lehman Catholic Volleyball Invitational also handed Adena coach Laura Smith her 800th career win, only the second coach in OHSAA history in volleyball to crack the 800-win barrier. The all-time leader, he's still going, Dan McKinstry of East Liverpool, currently sits at 814. Dan is, I think this is his third coach, but Laura's 800 is the record for a coach at any single school, all of those being at Adena.
Can she catch him? I mean, only 14 matches away, right?
Well, it won't happen this year, that's for sure. and Dan, he's, I think Dan's in his 70s.
Is that right?
But he's like the Energizer Bunny. He just goes and goes and goes. So,
and so is that gal sitting there, too.
Well, she treated me to lunch after this over at Sydney, Ohio.
Lunch is on me since you rode all this way.
Yeah, since you came up here. Okay. First time I'd been up there since 2007, so it's been a while since I've been there. Mm-hmm. Hey, a big win. We don't want to hang on.
Oh,
hang on.
Am I too soon?
Unioto boys soccer.
Oh, okay. Let me
this was a big deal, too.
There we go.
Handed two-time defending state champ Grandview Heights a 4-3 loss on Saturday. Lucas Haynes, that's Brandon's son, had 3 goals in that game, and Owen Link's leady header goal in the second half was the go-ahead win. You see assist there from Camden Smith and Bryce Derringer, but that's a big deal. A big win for the Unioto soccer team on Saturday.
And Luke is closing in on the all-time scoring mark for Ross County. So he's just, I want to say, like 7 goals away.
Yeah. So congratulations, and hopefully this is a sign of big things for the Sherman boys soccer team come postseason.
Are we going back to the
Yes.
Okay.
Now,
this is since we were talking volleyball.
Well, this is tonight as opposed to what happened over the weekend.
Gotcha.
There's another big MSL volleyball match slated tonight as first place Bloom Carroll hosts Fairfield Union, who, like Circleville, is just 1 match back. Now, this is at Bloom Carroll, and they're calling for the student section, it's called Dog, as in DAWG, Fight Point Night. And they're wanting you to wear all white. They're wanting the white out tonight. Mm-hmm. So that's up at Bloom Carroll. Big matchup with right there in Fairfield County, Fairfield Union, Christian Thompson, who's an outstanding hitter on the front row, going up against undefeated Bloom Carroll.
Why would they wear white, I wonder? I mean, it's Bloom Carroll. They're purple and gold.
Well, but I noticed
and
like
Fairfield
on their,
Union is white and red.
I think on the road, well, actually that uniform there, I'm not sure if that's a home match or why, because I've seen them in all white also. So
how can it be a dog fight with the Falcons?
Well, of course, the Bulldogs.
Yes, I understand that.
Right, yeah, but if it's a home match, they don't care what the other team is. So going back to over the weekend. Ohio State, little sluggish at times on the offense, but they did pull out a win. A win is a win is a win, they always say.
Yeah, it's somewhere here. I'll find it in just a moment.
The Buckeyes, 23-3 over Indiana, opening on the road. They're back home this Saturday against Youngstown State. Mm-hmm. Jim Tressel, is no longer the president there. The Redlegs. They split with the Cubs over the weekend, but they got back on the winning track yesterday. And this guy...
Welcome back, TJ Antone.
How about that? But the Reds jumped on them for a 5-0 lead and held on for the 6-3 win. They could wrap up the series or guarantee a series win tonight. There's 3 games they're playing with. The Mariners are just tearing it up in the American League West. They'd won 30 of their last 41 going into yesterday's matchup. So that'd be a big one, as the Reds are still in the wild card hunt. Wow, this was like a football score. The Twins pasting the Guardians yesterday, 20-6. This is one of those deals I think Cleveland's just saying, can we get this over?
Yeah, I thought it was the Vikings and the Browns for a second at a preseason game.
Did you see who threw out the first pitch?
I did not.
The Browns, David, I can't pronounce his name, starts with an N.
Oh, David Njoku?
Yes, that guy is huge.
He is, yes.
I mean, he's just an Adonis. He is solid.
His nickname is Chief.
Chief, that's right.
So what's funny is you go back to what used to be the Indians, and here comes Chief to throw out the first pitch.
Yeah. Now, he's a tight end or wide receiver?
Tight end.
Man.
Miami Hurricane.
And this Saturday or Sunday, of course, the Browns open up against
the Bengals at home.
Yeah.
And the question is Joe Burrow ready to go?
Yeah. So a lot of ifs, but that should be a dandy coming up this weekend. Games of the week?
I think we've got golf to talk about first.
Okay. This is a fundraiser. Crown Hill Golf Course coming up on September the 24th. Of course, a lot of folks have heard about Pelotonia as in the bike race to help raise funds for cancer research, but this is a golf tournament.
This is for people who don't bike.
That's right, yeah. But you could ride, I suppose, a golf cart.
Sure.
Yeah, but you can see there per player, that's $75 to play, $300 per team. Contact Crown Hill for more information.
And you get a hole-in-one on number 17, it's $10,000.
That would be sweet.
How about that?
That'd be sweet.
Litter Media Game of the Week Friday night was the Southeastern Panthers. There you see Garrett Blair talking with his team. Also, Scott Tomlinson, happy with how this played out. 36-20 was the final score. But we have action from all the other stuff that happened, the marching bands. This is from the post-game talk, which was very inspirational. There was a backflip in that talk as well. And the marching band performances, the cheerleaders and everything. And this guy had the play of the game, Dylan Morton, with a punt that was 67 yards, I believe, down to the 2-yard line, and that really turned the tables.
They talk about flipping the field.
He did it.
He did it. I mean, it was like when we were calling the game, and you want to try to follow the flight of the ball, but sometimes it gets a little bit higher than the window of the press box. And you can't. But when I was looking at the Southeastern receiver, watching it go back over his head, I thought, oh, my gosh, he had a howitzer. So.
It kept going. And that flipped the field position, but Coach Burrow is the one who had the back flip in the huddle during the celebration at the end. You got to see that. It's well worth seeing. So
it's hard to believe that we've covered 3 weeks already.
Yes.
And we go into conference play for many of the conferences, and not all of them, but many of them. And this is one, the Mid-State League Buckeye. And it's the game, Circleville at Logan Elm.
This is the backyard brawl, right?
They call it the Kingston National Bank Trophy Brawl.
Trophy brawl?
I was up at Circleville for this game last year, and of course it was, I think, 21-0, Logan Elm. But the game was it seemed closer than that. It's kind of like they pulled away at the end. Circleville, they're 0-3. Logan Elm's 3-0. But Circleville's been competitive in each one of their games, and they were right in it there. In fact, we're up 22-21 on Westfall. And again, Westfall pulled away for a 12-point win this past Friday night. So I think this is going to be a good one.
Steve Evans, head coach of Circleville. You'll be meeting with him. Going to try and connect with Terry Holbert this week as well for our pregame show, which is Thursday here on Facebook Live at noon. And Jeff Arndt, who was the defensive coordinator at Chillicothe High School during the Hinton years, he is with the Circleville Tigers. Has been there the last couple of seasons. So happy to you can blame Coach Arndt for the cell phone for Steve Evans. I was able to reach out to Coach Arndt and says, yeah, I got his number.
Good deal.
It's part of the work we do on Labor Day. And don't forget that this week we'll also, on our show, Thursday at noon, be announcing this week's Player of the Week. If you've got a nomination you would like to make, go to our website, littermedia.com, which is working now, and click Players of the Week, and it will take you right to where you can make your nomination. We are looking for any amateur athlete.
Very good.
All right, coming up in just a moment, we'll get you into this date in history as Mike dials up 2006. That's on the way next. For transportation options in Ross County, call Ross County Health District's Mobility Management Team, 740-779-9652.
I was looking for a first job. I had been babysitting and decided it was something for a little more permanent. It pays very well. It's convenient. You can make your own schedule with the flexibility. That's something that I like. The people that I work with are great. I wouldn't ask for a better crew or management team to work for.
At Country Clipper, pride runs deep. We take pride in knowing our mowers help create a space for families to make memories. That our features transform mowing into an enjoyable experience. Most importantly, we take pride in knowing the decision to purchase a Country Clipper will be one you can be proud of for years to come. Country Clipper zero-turn mowers.
I was going to say, I thought for sure I pushed the button.
You did.
So, all right. This date in history, the Litter Media Wayback Machine goes to
2006. Katie Couric, who
There she is.
got her national acclaim to start out from NBC. But on this date in 2006, Katie makes headlines and TV history with her highly publicized debut as the first female solo anchor of a weekday network evening news broadcast, the CBS Evening News with Katie Couric. Couric, who served as co-anchor of the Today Show from 1991 to 2006, replaced Dan Rather, who anchored CBS Evening News from 1981 until his retirement on March 9th of 2005. Now you say, wait, now, whoa. What about Barbara Walters? Well, Barbara was the first female co-anchor of a network evening newscast with
ABC.
two people.
Oh, with two people.
Co-anchor.
Is that Harry Reasoner?
I believe it was. So Barbara was a co-anchor, which was history for a female to do that on an evening newscast. But Katie became the first solo anchor of a major network evening newscast.
The first early memory I have of Katie Couric was during the Scud attacks. And she was reporting for NBC from what looked to be this little cubbyhole with a bookcase behind her. And she was giving updates on what was happening with the, this was before Kuwait was invaded, I believe, or maybe it was right after Kuwait had been invaded.
But before, I think we went in with our ground forces. We were doing the aerial assaults, but we hadn't started the ground attack yet.
But CNN was all over that. That's what put CNN on the map, I think, in all regards. Yeah, because they had a camera position where you could see the missiles actually coming into the territory, so that they had cameras at it.
That's back when CNN was really news. Not political commentary like so many of them, and not just them, but a lot of them do today. Those were the days, my friend.
But we don't do that here.
Yeah. No commentary here about CNN.
Well, we try to keep it, lighthearted. Good news. like you say,
Lighthearted
lighthearted stuff.
Yeah.
And where you want to put a roundabout in. That's about as rough as we come.
You're right. Something you said here a week or so ago. We have not heard of a single. I know when I say this on the record, it's going to happen. Who was I? I was with Shane Combs the other day, and he was bragging on somebody, just like the foul shot. You don't brag about how many they've shot in a row, because what you just bragged on will go against you.
And I've tried to make it happen, and it doesn't work.
It doesn't work when you want it to. Right.
Exactly.
Right. But yeah, the roundabouts have been very, very safe.
Yeah.
Yeah. So far. And there's more of them coming in our area.
They have them planned?
Well, you remember when the gal was here from ODOT talking about
Right.
Fairfield County?
Yeah.
Route 22 and is that 159 and 22? That's going to become a roundabout in that area. Yeah. And I think there was another one that they had there. And if I'm not mistaken, I think we had something on our road reports about Pickaway County is adding one. I just can't remember off the top of my head where it is. But yeah, these are going to become more prevalent. They've been prevalent down in the South for a long time. Of course, you talk about a long time. Have you ever been to Washington, D.C.? They call them squares, but they're not. They're like roundabouts.
Yeah. I remember going to Washington, D.C. once. I was, I think, 9 years old, and Dad was complaining the whole time because he took the wrong turn, and I got to see every monument there was to see, and it was because Dad was lost. And so I'm like, oh, wow, this is really cool. I don't want to talk about that right now. How do we get back onto the route?
Yeah. Yeah, the ones in D.C. are the most confusing because it's not like there's just an option of two places. It's like there's 5 different places where you can just jump off of it, and that's really kind of confusing. So.
Imagine Washington, D.C., not making sense, right?
But those go back to, the 1800s when they built those. So.
You were there on our radio assignment, right? Didn't you go with the Farm Bureau or something?
I was talking with Chip.
DC?
I think I went over 2 or 3 times. We sent Christina Wolford and Mitch Cochran. They went separate times. Eric Brown, if Eric watches this program, I can't remember if we sent Eric over one time, which was really educational for us as well as being there to cover it as news, to see how the Farm Bureau meets with not only their elected representatives, but members of the EPA, also the agricultural department, hey, this is what needs to be done.
Did you see any exchanging of money with the lobbyists or anything like that?
In fact, that's the thing, and Chip confirmed this again this morning. Farm Bureau has been big about being against subsidies to the farmers. And that's been a big thing for a long time, the government paying farmers not to do something.
Right. Yeah.
Or helping them out, with the dairy. But Farm Bureau's been one said, just get out of our way and let us do what we know how to do. Don't impede us. We'll make money if you let us do what we know what we're doing. So, they've been not against the subsidies.
The 2 big, far distant trips I remember making with radio, one was New York City, 2005. That was they were still cleaning up from ground zero. They were doing everything they could to make way for what they would eventually build now to rebuild where the towers were. And the other was when we went to Detroit for when everything was going digital. We got to go to Detroit to learn how to do this stuff, but they wouldn't let us go to Canada.
Right.
Not because you didn't have your passports, but because we didn't have insurance coverage on the van if we went over to Canada. Now, whether that's true or not, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think that was the boss's way of keeping us from making it over to Windsor because he didn't know what would happen at Windsor.
We talked about having gone to D.C. with the Farm Bureau. I went over with Pat Corcoran the first time and Tim Corcoran another time. But my family and I went to D.C. on a trip
to see the Smithsonian Institution.
We did do that. But when we went into the National Cathedral, I had an Ohio State shirt on. And one of the docents, because it's not only a church, it's a museum.
Right.
And one of the docents came over and said, saw my shirt, and she said, I know this is probably a crazy question just because you have an Ohio State shirt on because it's a big state. By any chance, do you know Diane Corcoran? I said, I was just here with her husband a few years back, and she laughed, and she said, well, I saw your shirt. Diane and I went to college together at Ohio State.
Is that right?
So one of those, it's a small world after all type things, so I thought that was kind of
I had
funny.
something similar happen when I was in Hawaii in 1993, and I had a Browns jersey on. It was a Bernie Kosar jersey, and this was back when Kosar and Testaverde, it was back and forth. Who's going to start? Is it going to be Bernie or is it going to be Vinny? And somebody asked me, so what do you think? Is it going to be Bernie or is it going to be Vinny? And I'm like, I don't really care either way. You know, I'm wearing a Browns jersey. That's all there is to it. And then they wanted to sell me tickets to a macadamia nut place, you know. So
Yeah.
that's usually what it is. They find something in common with you to get the conversation started. Next thing you know, they're selling you something.
Yeah.
So
We were at Disney World one year. I think it might have been the year we were there on business, actually, but the family went along. And we ran into Steve. I think it was Steve, Mr. Trainer that used to be the service director here in Chillicothe. He and his family were there. And, of course, when you run into people from your hometown and a state, it's like, what are you doing here? Like, well, we know what you're doing here, but what are you doing here while I'm here?
what are the chances we'd run into each other?
We ran into Tom Wilson and his family at the airport when we were heading to Florida here not too long ago. So,
Well, on that same Hawaii trip, someone asked me if I knew about Tecumseh. And I'm like, yeah.
no.
Because they said, where are you from? And I said, well, we're from outside of Columbus, around Chillicothe. Oh, you know Tecumseh? I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
And even on that same trip, we were going down to do laundry because it was a week-long trip. So at the hotel we were at, we were going to do laundry. We went the back way down the stairwell because I didn't want to carry my dirty laundry onto the elevator. So we're going down through there. I had a Bible tucked up underneath my arm.
You know Jesus?
Well, there was
Yeah, I just talked to him today.
there was a house attendant who was going up the steps as we're going down the steps, and he says, oh, I see you got your sword with you. And I said, oh, my Bible, yes, I do. And he says, where are you folks from? And I said, well, we're from outside Columbus. Oh, you know Rob Parsley? And I said, oh, well, I know of him. I don't know him personally. And he says, oh, yeah, he comes out here all the time and has these revivals.
Wow.
And I'm like, wow.
How about that?
Small world.
Yeah. So whether you're from Chillicothe, Circleville, Lancaster, what you think you're just living in a small town, but you're known all over the place.
I got news for you. You think technology is great today? God knows where you are and what's going on at all times.
Yeah.
Imagine the sophisticated equipment he has recording what happens.
You don't even need Facebook
It's going
for
to
that.
come up on Judgment Day.
Exactly. Yeah.
So you think you're getting away with something? It ain't happening. It ain't happening. All right, we've got places to go and things to do. I've got a root canal waiting. So
we may not see you tomorrow.
yeah, if you do,
I really like that.
your life. So that is this afternoon. So
Good
we've
luck
got
on
some
that,
things
by
to
the
take care of. Thank you. But back at it again tomorrow. Special edition for you with Chip Nelson coming up at 10 o'clock tomorrow. And, of course, here, another edition of Litter Media Live. So until then, enjoy the rest of your Monday/Tuesday.